All right, today we are talking about an absolute automotive legend. It's a car that was born from, believe it or not, total frustration, but it was perfected through some seriously obsessive engineering, and it ended up cementing its place in car culture forever. So let's get into it. This is the story of the 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS.
I mean, that's Jerry Seinfeld talking, the guy with one of the most incredible Porsche collections on the entire planet. And that's what he has to say about this car. It just hits different, doesn't it? That quote tells you this isn't just a machine made of metal and glass. It's something else entirely.
So that really is the big question, right? We live in a world with hypercars that do 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds flat. So why are we still so completely obsessed with this specific 50-year-old Porsche? What's the secret sauce? Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
You'd think a story like this would kick off with some glorious victory, right? A triumphant moment? Nope. To really understand the legend of the RS, we have to go back to a moment of pure, unadulterated frustration for the folks at Porsche.
So just picture it. The year is 1972. Porsche's managing director, a guy named Ernst Fuhrmann, is standing trackside and he is watching the company's crown jewel, the 911, get absolutely smoked. We're talking just left in the dust by cars from BMW and Ford. It wasn't just losing, it was embarrassing.
So Fuhrmann, he didn't waste any time. He marched straight to his engineering team and basically threw down the gauntlet. The order was as simple as it was huge. Fix it. Make the 911 a winner again. End of story.
Now, there was a catch. To get this new, faster 911 officially allowed to race in the big leagues, FIA's Group 4, they had to do this thing called homologation. All that means is they had to build and sell at least 500 of them to the public. And honestly, Porsche was nervous. They were genuinely worried they couldn't even sell 500.
But this is where the story gets wild. They unveiled the car at the Paris Motor Show, and that first batch of 500 cars? Gone. Sold out in a matter of weeks. Most people were buying it sight unseen. The demand was so overwhelming, Porsche had to scramble to triple their production plan, and they ended up building more than 1,500 of them.
So what caused this absolute buying frenzy? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is one of the most famous and frankly revolutionary pieces of design in car history. The car was officially named the Carrera RS. And those two letters, RS, are everything. They stand for Rennsport, which is just German for racing sport. So yeah, no mystery about what this car was built for. And you know what's amazing? This whole game-changing car was developed by a tiny, super-focused team of just 15 engineers. And the story of that iconic spoiler, it's just perfect. A young engineer named Tilman Brodbeck got the idea from the most unlikely place you can imagine, his old Fiat 850. Yeah, a Fiat. When he first built a prototype, his coworkers actually laughed at it, calling it Entenbürsel, which basically means duck's rump or duck's butt. Well, that duck's butt turned out to be a stroke of pure genius. It was a masterpiece that fixed 3 massive problems all at once. First, it completely cured the 911's tendency to get dangerously floaty at high speeds. Second, and this was the shocker, it actually reduced the car's aerodynamic drag. And third, it funneled a ton more air into the engine, helping it cool down. It was a perfect engineering hat trick. But look, the ducktail gets all the glory, but the Carrera RS was so much more than just its spoiler. It was a complete philosophy. It was this relentless, almost fanatical exercise in purposeful engineering, where every single part was questioned.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Porsche offered 2 different flavors. You had the M472 Touring, which was basically a really fast but still comfortable road car. And then you had the M471 Sport. This was the hardcore, no-compromise version. We're talking 115 kilos. That's over 250 pounds lighter. They used thinner steel, thinner glass, and they ripped out everything. The back seats, carpets, sound deadening, even the glove box door. The Porsche crest on the hood was literally a sticker just to save a few grams. That's true obsession.
So yeah, the car won races, and it sold out instantly. But its true impact, its real legacy, goes way beyond that. This car fundamentally changed the DNA of Porsche as a company.
You can think of the 73 RS as creating the blueprint, the recipe for every single high-performance Porsche that would follow.
This combination of obsessive lightweighting, pioneering aero, offering different packages like sport versus touring, and taking race tech and putting it straight into a road car, that became the very foundation of what a high-performance Porsche is.
You can draw a straight, unbroken line from this original 1973 car all the way to the modern 911 GT3 and GT3 RS models that we all drool over today. They are the true spiritual successors, carrying that exact same Rennsport philosophy forward 50 years later.
But the legend of this car wasn't just built in an engineering lab or on a racetrack. It exploded into pop culture, and it became an icon that people recognized far, far outside of the car world.
We started with Jerry Seinfeld, right? He even featured one in an episode of his show. Then there was that fantastic documentary Urban Outlaw, which really centered on the RS and sparked this huge new wave of appreciation for old 911s. And for an entire generation of us, it's a digital hero we've driven thousands of miles in video games like Gran Turismo and Forza.
And when you combine that cultural impact with its history and its rarity, well, it translates into some pretty staggering numbers. A pristine M471 Sport version has sold at auction for $2.4 million. At that point, it's not really a car anymore. It's a piece of blue-chip art.
And that brings us all the way back to that first question. What makes a 50-year-old car a legend? You know, maybe it's this. In a world that's always chasing what's next, sometimes a thing is created that's so pure, so perfectly executed for its time, that you can't really improve it. You can only reference it. The 1973 911 Carrera RS isn't just a car. It's a timeless testament to that very idea.